Hello, folks, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Trade the Chain. I am joined today with our crypto analyst, CJ from MarketRebellion.com. Both Monte and Ryan have the rare day off today. So it's just us, and you're going to have to put up with that. Real quickly, I want to just let everybody know that both CJ, myself, and Rob from Digital Asset News, along with Pat Ackerman, did a two-part series on the fundamental value of BGX and tokenomics that equate to Voyager's value. We released part one yesterday to great fanfare. It seemed to be well received. We were going to release part two today, this afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you have your alerts set to the channel. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. So that way, don't forget to hit the like button. CJ will fire me if I don't say that. But that way you get alerted when it does drop. It's not in premiere mode. It's just being released. So hopefully that can conclude everybody's interest in what we analyze going through Voyager and the BGX token. From there, I'm going to just shout out a couple of popular mentions in crypto over the last 24 hours. We have Terra Luna, which was just listed on the Voyager platform, is the biggest gain over the last 24 hours, 27.9% up, so up sharply. I would presume a lot to do with the listing on Voyager and the added retail buying distribution network that gave it to the coin. Next, we have Matic. Matic up 17.09, the third largest gainer in the last 24 hours. Matic has had a strong, momentous run as of late, and so congrats to the Matic coin. And then, of course, one of our all-time favorites is also up, sitting in the fourth position, up 24-hour percentage-wise, is the pink unicorn itself, Uniswap, up 16.3%. And if you don't know about Uniswap, it doesn't matter. You just buy it because it has the pink unicorn for the logo. And then lastly, I want to give our friends, our boys over at Swissborg a shout out. They're sitting in the number 5th spot, up 14.3% sharply in the last 24 hours. Swissborg is a European broker app as well for crypto, and a really growing, strong community there. And with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to CJ to go through his spiel.
Trade the Chain is brought to you by Trade the Chain, a community of traders all throughout the world with a sentiment dashboard to select trade ideas based on social media data with a direct API plugged into it. Weston Nelson is the proprietary trader of Trade the Chain. Very impressed by some of his recent trades. So check it out at tradethechain.com for 14-day trial. And then next we have Market Rebellion Crypto, your one-stop shop for crypto trading. Get access to exclusive trade ideas, our macro portfolio allocations, a pro charting platform, a beginner to advanced crypto education curriculum, an elite trading community of traders all throughout the world, and much more. If you're serious about trading and investing in crypto, this is the service that gives you everything you need, all in one place. Start your first month trial for just $1 at marketrebellion.com/crypto.
You forgot to tell everybody not to listen to us.
Yeah, and just as a disclaimer, nothing here today should be construed as financial advice. It is not intended to be. Anything we say on this show is always for educational and entertainment purposes only.
And mainly for entertainment purposes. I mean, who's going to take financial advice from a guy in his shishi robe on the couch?
Yeah, I'll be careful. So let's cover Bitcoin here very briefly. There's not a whole lot that has changed from yesterday because we're still in the descending triangle on the daily time frame. We reached that sequential red 9 yesterday, and we got a little bit of a relief rally in the midst of this long downtrend, but it just wasn't strong enough. The bears rejected it at the downward sloping trend line, and now we've gone back and created another red 1. So like we've been saying on here for the last few weeks, waiting for the honey hole between about 28 to 26K. And I think price could hit a low of 22 here based on current support levels. we don't have a whole lot of support historically looking back at the trend. And before going any further, I want to check out some of the shorter term time frames, namely the 4 hour here, see if we have anything interesting going on currently. So we did have some micro bullish price action on the 4 hour after we had this green hammer candle that brought us up from the crypto abyss of roughly 29K. Then we created a higher low here and then retested the downward sloping trend line, but was then rejected again. So we've come down and we've tested that prior higher low, but we have not closed below the previous low yet. So we've not created a lower low. What I will be watching and what will change my mind to possibly close my short positions in some options, which I'll get to in a minute. But what would convince me to close my shorts would be a break above the descending trend line on the 4 hour chart right here and the previous swing high at about 33 to 34K. So I'm looking at a break above 34K for a potential bullish continuation. I think there's a low likelihood of that occurring right now based on the current posture of the trend, but those will be the levels that will stand to change my mind. So now let's go and let's cover ETH, because we did see an all-time high in Ethereum very recently, ever since we've kind of come down. So taking a look at the 1 hour time frame here, like let's just learn about technical analysis for a second. Like look at how we got the reaction off this 9. Typically a 9 will tell you that we're at least going to see a bullish reversal in the interim, and that's what we got. Subsequently, we went down and bearish momentum ensued. But right now, Ethereum's looking very similar to Bitcoin. I think one of the best charts to look at right here from a technical perspective is we have a perfect double top with Ethereum here hitting the sequential TD cell 9s simultaneously. Like they both were rejected at roughly 1500. So we have yet to close above that level. We have fallen since this double top. Now it is kind of noteworthy. We've got a price flip to a green 1 on the 4 hour with Ethereum, but we're still kind of leaning bearish neutral. We have to get that break above 34K in Bitcoin, and we have to get a break above 1500 in Ethereum in order for this bullish momentum to be real. Because right now I'm convinced that we're still going to see a correction, and that's why I have some puts in Riot currently. Moving on to that one.
Let's frame it out for the folks. What we decided to do today, we decided to do the back half of this episode in crypto exposure through traditional stocks, through traditional companies. So, CJ actually had the suggestion. We got 2 men out from the team. The market isn't doing anything particularly extravagant, so we decided to put together a couple of traditional companies and kind of explain how to hedge your portfolio, diversify your portfolio, short your portfolio through these traditional crypto exposed companies. CJ, I'm going to let you take away this format again as well.
Yeah, thanks for that introduction. Essentially, my thinking and why I think this would be interesting for you guys is when I first came into the space, it was very difficult to find a tenable way to short Bitcoin without getting stopped out with leverage and stuff. And then I discovered puts, and the more correlated these companies become to Bitcoin, ultimately the better a put is going to be as a hedge. So the first one I have highlighted here is Riot, and I have some February puts on Riot. Riot's up. It opened the day down 3 to 4%, and now it is, ever since rallied back, it is up 0.4% today. So taking a little bit of heat on those puts. But ultimately, if Bitcoin continues to go lower to the 26 to 28 level, like I'm still going to be holding my crypto for the long term. But if there's a nice way to be able to pick up some profit on shorting Bitcoin in the interim, then I've been looking at these top 5 stocks here, and you can see them up on the top right of my watch list here. The first one being Riot blockchain. And so this is a mining stock. And as you can see, we started this uptrend at about $3, $4, and we've gone all the way to about $27. Excuse me, $29. So this is even more overbought than Bitcoin when it comes to a percentage basis, which is pretty bullish or pretty bearish in my opinion, because it means that it probably will be a longer way down on a potential correction. So that's why I like Riot. It looks a little bit weaker than shorting the actual asset of Bitcoin. So I've got some puts for February. I think I might need to get some more puts and roll them to later February so that I'll give myself a little bit more time for Bitcoin to fall. But going to the next one here is Marathon Patent Group. And these guys bought $150 million worth of Bitcoin it was yesterday we were talking about it. Is that correct, Alex?
Yeah. They just did this past last week, I believe.
Yeah. So even still, they've been correlated ever since Bitcoin's ascent from about 10K to 40K. So another run up starting at about $2. This one went to 29. So even another one to watch. So I might even trade options, call options on these stocks once we go back into an uptrend with Bitcoin, because trading options can really give you some nice leverage over these markets. Now we can see Square is really looking kind of weak here, testing this previous higher low, looking to create a potential lower low on tomorrow on a red 7. So maybe I might grab some puts before close on that one today. Although we do have some strong support from this previous 9. So maybe not. Maybe I'll wait till we get some further confirmation. Square, another one, as you can see, has just been trending ever since they bought Bitcoin and since price has been going up. Next one, and this is probably just as a general note for you guys, PayPal and Square are probably the least correlated on this list due to the fact that they're so heavily involved already in the tech sector, and the fact that Square only bought like 50 million of Bitcoin. I don't know. It's just the stock has not responded similar to like Riot and Mara. I see better opportunities in those ones. And another one where I see opportunities is MicroStrategy, because this stock never did anything for like 5 years previous to Michael Saylor. Like, look at this. Nothing happened for years in MicroStrategy. But CEO decided to buy $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, and we got a hell of a run up. But if that Bitcoin goes down, excuse me, if we test 25, 26K, MicroStrategy will likely be highly correlated. Now we have a green 1 here, but if we get a price flip to a red 2, MicroStrategy is another one that is looking very weak in my opinion, that could go down in the interim. But then again, it could be a great long-term play for calls, because once this correction inevitably ends, we likely will go up and create higher highs in Bitcoin past 42K. And if we do that, and a company such as MicroStrategy has a lot of exposure to Bitcoin, then buying a long-term leap call option on MicroStrategy might not be such a bad option for myself. And then the last one that has not even corrected yet is Silvergate. So Silvergate is probably the strongest, in my opinion, from a bullish perspective. So I'm not going to buy puts on Silvergate until we get some kind of confirmed weakness in the trend. The weakest one of all of these, I would say, is probably MicroStrategy or Square.
One of the things that's interesting, CJ, is between different companies is they do have, they each have their certain amount of correlation to Bitcoin because of their involvement in Bitcoin, where they own it, facilitate it, or otherwise. Just to briefly go down what CJ was pointing out here, you have Riot, which is a mining company, crypto mining company. They obviously mine Bitcoin. That's their involvement. You have Mara, which has bought I believe it was 150, 180 million in Bitcoin for treasury. You have Square, which I believe is up to 80 million now after their initial 50 million in Bitcoin for their treasury. PayPal, which is a diversified payment gateway solution, has now allowed the purchase of crypto, so retail people can buy crypto through it. MSTR, Microstrategies, obviously famous in the acquisition of Bitcoin for treasury. And then Silvergate Bank, which is a regular bank, which has a crypto group within it. And actually, I believe, just on some quick news with that, Silvergate Bank has gained 2.9 billion in new deposits from existing digital currency customers just in Q4 2020 alone. But it's what's interesting is that their exposure involvement is all different in what they do. But these companies essentially are tied to it one way or the other. I think MicroStrategy is the most. I think, I'm not going to speak for CJ, but I definitely have, voiced an opinion that MicroStrategy essentially has so much Bitcoin in their treasury that they become a Bitcoin ETF of sorts.
Absolutely. And sorry to interrupt, but this is the perfect hyperwave, in my opinion. Out of all of these, I'm looking at MicroStrategy as like the weakest, because it has run up. It has gone more parabolic than the 5 others that I have mentioned. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, listen, MicroStrategy is brilliant in a couple different ways. One, their CEO bought Bitcoin, and that trade could have gone either way. I mean, just think about it. Either way, folks, okay? Doesn't matter whether you're a Bitcoin believer or not, it's all up to the markets. And that trade went in the right way, and not just a little, but big time. So he made out, his shareholders are excited, new investors into the company are excited as well. But now he owns so much of it that it literally tracks to Bitcoin, much like ETH does most of the time. And he has done something else, which is successfully, in my opinion, created an SEC approved ETF in Bitcoin.
Yeah, we don't need an ETF. We can just bundle these companies into MicroStrategy.
As a matter of fact, if we basket all the companies that you just mentioned that you're covering into a single exchange traded fund, I mean, that's pretty much almost like a Bitcoin ETF as well. I mean, we could do that, don't even need approval.
Well, that's what VanEck was trying to do, right? We talked about that last week. They were trying to find companies who had 50% of their revenue coming from Bitcoin in some form or another and put those companies into an ETF. Or you could just trade MicroStrategy.
What do you think? And for people out there who are sitting, behind their computer or however they're watching this, and they're going, "Well, I wonder what the most advantageous way is to get a return. Is it to buy the companies that are going into Bitcoin, or is it to buy, and hold Bitcoin?" You face long exposure on both, but CJ, I'm curious to hear if you feel the exposure is mitigated within these public companies to Bitcoin, or if it's enhanced because of it.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Lots to unpack there. I would say if we look at it mathematically and the potential upside that some of these companies have relative to Bitcoin, if we're looking, if Bitcoin is the play here, if Bitcoin is the fundamental value shock and it's going to lift many, many others up with it, what is the most advantageous trade that we have on the table? We look at Riot. It went from $3 all the way up to nearly 27. Very similar is true for MicroStrategy. However, Bitcoin went from about 10,000 to 42,000, so a 4x roughly. But these other ones, like the stocks I mentioned with lower market caps, they did much greater of a return. And if you had options on them, just go look at the options returns on some of these trades. I know somebody who was in on them. They made out very, very well for themselves. So there is potentially more upside in projects and companies connected with Bitcoin than Bitcoin itself. Because if we project Bitcoin mathematically, some of the analysts, the highest projections are going to, 200, 300K. I don't think practically we can get above those levels in one single market cycle by the end of 2022. I think it's going to take multiple years and multiple market cycles to get to the 400, 500K price range for Bitcoin. Not saying it can't happen. I think it's very rare. And I think the absolute cap on Bitcoin this bull market is probably a 5x from here. So if we go 40K times 5, it's roughly 200K. That's the highest Bitcoin can go, roughly. Not an absolute, but these other companies, they've already proven that they can do much more than just a 4x or 5x.
That's very interesting. I tend to lean towards that position as well. I have one last question before we close out. Do you actually think that come next earnings call and I'm not picking on MicroStrategy, they're just the biggest holder, so it's easy target.
But they brought it on themselves.
They did. I mean, Michael Saylor's now, a scion in crypto Twitter. If you next earnings call for MicroStrategies, will it even matter if they have lost sales of their product or gained sales of their product to affect their EPS, their earnings per share?
Well, look what the stock was doing before they bought Bitcoin. It wasn't doing too much, right? So I don't think that plays that big of a factor, but you never know how the market will react to these types of things. In my opinion, and the market doesn't care about my opinion, but in my opinion, I think that the fact that they bought Bitcoin is their true value proposition right now. That's why people are buying stock. I don't think it's because inherently, MicroStrategy is doing anything differently other than buying a boatload of Bitcoin. So an example of this is kind of like this earnings call. This one play I had back in the day on Dollar General. And Dollar General was going into an earnings report, and they killed it on earnings. They had really good reports because of COVID. Low cost retailer. A lot of people were shopping at low cost retailers at the start of COVID, so it had really good earnings. But they didn't provide quarterly guidance for Q4 of 2020. So the market didn't like that, and the stock sold off, regardless of having really good earnings. So you never really know. And earnings are kind of a difficult play when it comes to options. Typically, what I like to do is if we see a large amount of calls or puts bought before earnings, then that's something interesting, and it tells me, all right, you should probably pay attention to this because somebody might know something.
Interesting. All right, we're going to leave it there. Folks, again, we have part 2 of our VGX tokenomics and fundamental value episode coming out from our 2-part series today. First one dropped yesterday with CJ, Rob from Digital Asset News, and Pat Ackerman, myself. If you missed that, go to the channel, watch it. If you're waiting for the one to come out, if you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe and the alert button, and smash the like button. And you'll be thoroughly enjoyed, I think. Till then, hang on to your handlebars. Watch out for the honey holes. And happy trading. And if you want to know where CJ got his get up today, just put it in the comments and we'll tell you. Take it easy, guys. Have a good one.